Hey, it's Kathy Olislag with another episode of Journey into Cybersecurity. I have a super duper special guest, Miss Sarah Pinson.
Yeah,
Yay!
I'm so excited.
Sarah, thank you so much for joining me today. I couldn't sleep last night. I was preparing for this conversation and I just could not calm my head down and fall asleep. But I'm so excited for you to be here. How about you just give a quick introduction as to who you are, what you do, where you live,
Yeah,
and then we'll go back in time.
cool. That sounds good. And before I even start, I have to say, I literally had a dream about this last night. So I woke up and was like, did I do it? Like I had to kind of like sort myself out. So I am, in time. Yeah, I am born and raised in Ohio. Grew up kind of, I joke, I'm kind of a jock by trade. That was kind of my world. Have two sisters who are also in that same kind of vicinity, which we can kind of touch on later because we all followed these kind of the same path. Went to college. I had the opportunity to play basketball. I had a full ride scholarship to Bowling Green in Northern Ohio, and just totally thought that's what I was going to do. I was going to be in sports. After I graduated with sport management as my undergraduate degree, I actually stayed on and worked in the external relations portion of my athletic department and got my master's degree in sport administration. I mean, there was absolutely no doubt about it. I was going to be an athletic director or something in that field. It was going to involve a ball of some sort, some way. So I laugh sitting where I am now. But yeah, then after I graduated, I actually worked for a company that partnered with local parks and rec to kind of bring in sports where they couldn't necessarily field, to have enough people to run that, and really enjoyed it. And actually then transitioned into the parks and rec world, where I was always some sort of a program coordinator for special events, volleyball, cheerleading, basketball. And I've always kind of stayed in local government. My husband got a job in Savannah, which is where we live now, in Savannah, Georgia. So I kind of left kind of that world of local government and was kind of figuring out what I was going to do, and then had the opportunity to work for a company called Agio, which was cybersecurity. And that was kind of my first step in. So that's kind of what some time at Agio, which was fantastic, kind of led me to where I am now, which is Leviathan Security.
Yeah. I was looking at your background and I did not know how much diversity there was in your background and how you just went from left to right.
Yep.
Before we dig into that, you touched a little bit about how you were a little athlete growing up, but paint us a picture as little Sarah.
Little Sarah was never little Sarah, because I'm like 6 foot and was such, at a very young age, gangly freckles. I was always playing some sort of a basketball or volleyball, is what I grew up doing, both. I mean, I was quite the tomboy, I mean, and my sisters, Amy and Kelly, I'm the oldest of 3. So, I mean, we were always, bugging each other to go play outside, or, just poking each other, just trying to be annoying, But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we grew up doing, and loved it. It was always, someone was always at a tournament. So we were always traveling. I'm fortunate enough that a lot of the friends that I am still close with now, we grew up playing ball together. Yeah, it was always sports. I mean, it's just wild to me because that was always our world.
Yeah. Did you have like any athletes that you were looking up to? What were the posters on your wall in your room?
Oh, totally. I mean, it's, Michael Jordan, Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, all these people, Pat Summitt, as the coaches, Gino Auriemma. I remember too, I've always been a LeBron fan because he was so close to me age-wise, like it was always like, I mean, I remember in a tournament, my dad being like, you need to go get that guy's autograph because he's going to be big one day. And I'm like, okay, walk over, and now you're like, he's LeBron. So it was always, always one of those people, but it was, especially now to still be able to watch like Diana Taurasi play, and, Sue Bird retiring, and Pat Summitt, and, everything that was kind of our main role models. It was always a UConn versus Tennessee rivalry in our house, you know, and then
Mm.
especially if you come to the realization like, okay, I'm never going to play there. Let me set the standard. But I'm really going to get into it watching it at home.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you had some pivots along the way. What were some tipping points that made you pivot?
I think one, when I first got out of college, I had actually, while I was in college, my end of my master's degree was when I met my now husband. So like we kind of decided we were going to be moving. He wanted to move south, and I was like, cool, let's go. So I mean, that too kind of all of a sudden was like, well, this world that I've kind of created, you know, in Bowling Green with college and you know, just my teammates and stuff was going to change. So it was like you have to look for an opportunity in a specific place versus kind of wherever. And that's kind of where I switched from college athletics more into like the local parks and rec. And any other time that I've had a career change, it's almost been because of a move. We've you know switched. We've moved around to different locations, so that I have to look at a different job because at the time there was nothing that was really remote. This is all kind of pre-pandemic, so it was harder to find, I think, and less in my mind of, oh, I could just work from home and work from wherever. And then really when I was leaving my most recent job before I joined Agia, which then was, you know, remote cybersecurity, a total change. It was just, I was ready for something different. You know, I have two boys. I really kind of wanted to get away from being coaching and on the ball, like being involved in that, and wanted to be able to step back and be a spectator. So it was kind of like, I needed that life change of, instead of being coordinating the things, I wanted to be coaching or to be watching the things kind of as a parent. And that was really one of the big pushes that made me want to look for something else.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
So, what's been your experience like working in cybersecurity?
I've loved it. I mean, it's one of those things where I kind of jumped in thinking like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is not my world. To then something it's become my world. I mean, it's so interesting. It's so fast paced. There's always something new. And I think that's what's kind of reassuring about it is it's like, no one knows everything because it's
No.
so quickly changing. Like the landscape is different every single day, that even the people at the top of their game, there's stuff that comes out and they're like, I'm not really sure yet. So it kind of has opened, at least where I have had the opportunity to work, it's kind of opened the door and being like, oh, good, you're not sure either. So that takes the weight off my shoulder of also being someone who's new to being like, can you go back and talk? Can you describe that again? Or what does that acronym mean? Can you you know, explain a little bit more? But yeah, it's been fantastic. I can't imagine. I feel like I've been in it longer than what I have, in a good way.
Yeah, because it's so intense, because it's so
Yes.
fast paced.
Yes.
Yeah,
Fast. Yep.
totally. Any
Yeah.
challenges?
You know, I think anytime you start in a job, I think the challenge of not wanting to say no to something and wanting to be like, hey, can you help with this project? Sure, yeah, I can. And wanting to kind of like get everything done right now. And trying to put up a wall early on of like, yeah, I'll figure it out on the back end, even though I don't know really what you're talking about it now. Um, and I think very quickly on, I was like, that's not sustainable.
Mm.
You know, if I'm not sure what it is, I got to ask for clarity up front. Otherwise, we're both in a bad spot. But
Yeah,
I think just wanting to take on everything, I like to be involved, and I like to be able to know that people can count on me. But being able to say at times too, like, I can't do this, like, hey, or I can I can do it next week,
yeah,
or something else has got to be pushed if I need to. So
yeah,
I think that's a challenge that a lot of people have, but it's also one that's such an internal struggle too, to be able to say, I can't, or I can, but this is kind of where we're at on what I've got on my plate.
yeah. Oh, that's such good advice. Being able to one, ask for help, to draw a line, and
Hmm.
three, being able to manage expectations.
Yeah.
So important
Hmm.
to juggle those types of challenges
Right.
appropriately.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, it's a fast-paced environment. So just being able to be like, well, before I sign on, explain to me again what we need, and use layman's terms. Being able to
Yes.
just say, like, hit me with like as if I don't know anything, because I might not know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. But if you
Yeah.
can catch me up to speed, then I'm good, you know. I think being open enough to say, I'm not sure what you mean, or I don't know what that is important.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong in that. Once you recognize that nobody's going to judge you
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
treat you badly because you don't know
Right.
it's an acronym, something silly.
Right. Right. I know. I was thinking about it. I was like, a lot of the folks that I work with, or have worked with, the consultants or the advisors, I mean, they might not know the specifics of how creating, a Gantt chart works or all this stuff that I do with my job. Then why can't I ask for clarity on a certification that they've studied years and years and
Mhm.
years on? Or why would I be expected to know my way around an API? Like, that's not my world, So
Yeah.
ask for that clarity.
Mhm. Excellent. And the thing is, I didn't know all the stuff that you did before. I thought you were a pro walking in because you made it look easy. Like it was crazy. And on top of that, I looked at you and you always positive energy, always high energy, always like, let's do this, let's get it done. And the quality of your work was impeccable. Um, and I was always thinking in the back of my head, how the hell does she do this? How does she make this work so well? Because, I know that you had two little boys, or you have two little boys still. And I'm like, how does she do this? And now that I know your background, I'm like, how the hell does she do this? You know? So how, Sarah? How?
It's funny. Again, kind of like just thinking about some of like the way that I got from point A to point B. And I think it's finding those transferable skills,
Mhm.
is the biggest part, and leaning heavily on those. When I interviewed with Agio, I always have to give shout outs to, Chris Harper and Lori Lee. But I think Chris at one point was like, if you can manage a water park in South Georgia, like, I think you'll be fine handling our clients on a call. And I'm like, you know what, you're right. Like, I may not know what we're talking about directly when I start, but like the skills are there. And it's like, sometimes if you get into a new field, you have to do a little digging, I think, even within yourself, to be like, this is what the job description is. This is what I've done. I may not know the specifics, but I've done it. So putting that
Yeah.
confidence in the right context for what you're getting ready to go do. And then really I've had to start setting, like, my calendar looks full, but a lot of times it's just blocks of like, this is how I'm content switching. And I start a
Mm.
focus timer. I'm like, 45 minutes. This is what I'm going to do. This is the task I'm working on. And then I will literally time myself and be like, I've got 30 minutes. I'm going to switch the laundry. I'm going to throw some dinner on in the crock pot. I'm going to clean up something, because when you're home, I can also try to go do that stuff too. I feel like I'm constantly like doing something against the clock. But it's really been something that's helped me, especially,
Yeah.
as things kind of get added. It's like, this is what my expectations are for this this is my block. This is what I'm working on now. And then I need to switch because there's a deadline for something else. And then the buzzer went off on the washing machine. So I need to go do that.
That's amazing. And such good advice too in terms of time management. Not everybody knows how to do that. I keep telling my kids, use your calendar, use your
Yeah.
calendar. It's on your phone.
Right. And it is. And it's something that I always have up on one of my screens. And it's, it's all color coded. I mean, that works
Yes,
for me,
yes.
and it's like each color means something different. So at a quick glance, and then, you've got notepads everywhere. I'm such a list checker. I mean, I will put on, here's my meetings, here's the other things I need to do. And then also, like, I need to make my grocery list at some point today. Like, here's this, like, I have to put it on there and
Yeah.
check it off in multiple places.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I guess that's how it all gets done.
I
So,
guess for the most part. And then, I've always a big person of the plastic versus glass balls, like which plastic ball can I kick under the fridge like an ice cube that I don't want to deal with today, because something is going to fall. I just need to catch the ones that are going to break. And if it's
yes.
plastic in personal or, professional life, it's like, I'll get to it tomorrow. Let me shift that to the next day.
Yeah. I love that. So love that. Um, and the thing is, you and I are very similar, except that I'm like about 10 years ahead of you. My kids are now college bound. So the workplace looked very different for me.
Mhm.
Like 20 years ago, looking back, I'm like, how the hell did I do that? But,
I
you
say
know,
that all the time. I can't imagine. I mean, this is so my world now, and being home, which helps you
yeah,
juggle a lot
yeah,
more, I think, just by itself. I'm like, man, I can't imagine. Like, so I give all the kudos to anybody who's just a little bit older. Like it's wild.
Yeah, because back then everybody went to work, everybody
Mhm.
went to the office, and I remember, dropping off my 7-week-old son with a complete stranger,
Mhm.
running to the train, commuting to New York City with a laptop bag on one
Yep.
shoulder, a breast milk pump on the
Yeah,
other shoulder,
I
and
know.
barricading myself in a closet with the breast pump,
Yep.
in between calls and
Right.
meetings. And I'm like, how the hell did I do that? And
I
fast
honestly
forward.
can't. I can't even imagine. Like anymore now, I'm just like, I have to put on real jeans and go somewhere. Like that's too much for me sometimes.
Yes.
Let alone, I mean, my mom used to say, she's like, I would have to take PTO sometimes just to get caught up on
Mhm.
stuff around the house, And I'm like,
Yeah.
I feel very lucky that I can turn my camera off and step away, or I can go for a walking. I'm taking this
Mhm.
call from my phone and I'm going to go for a walk, like that's just,
Yeah.
it's a luxury that I think we take advantage of, or even just don't take enough, like I'm going
Mhm.
to get away from my desk and I'm going to go for a walk because I can. When, I mean, it's like when you are in the office, sometimes it's like I could be doing so many other things, but I can't because I'm stuck at my desk. Or like you said, you're doing all the things while still trying to get ahead in your career and just be
Mhm.
here and just trying to catch up. And it's wild.
Yeah. And I think it kind of proved the point that, remote work isn't so bad and it can be
Mhm.
done. And it is an enabler for working moms to,
Yeah.
to strike a better balance, I think.
Hmm.
Um, because you see these CEOs of these big companies saying you have to come back to the office, but here they are, probably in their 60s,
Hmm.
men mostly,
Yeah.
living way closer to the office than all their employees ever could afford
Right.
to, not having ever had to worry about raising kids themselves, and having 3 times the income their employees do.
Yeah.
So it's just ridiculous to think that going back pre-COVID is going to happen.
Right. Right. And anymore, I think I know the majority of my team now at Leviathan is based on the West Coast. So I know one of my original concerns was like, oh my gosh, like I can't work later in the day. Like I have to be able to keep
Yeah.
hours. And for my whole team, my boss, everybody was just like, yeah, I mean, do what you need to do. You set the hours. Like no one expects you to work late. I mean, it always happens. There's always something that comes up, and
Mhm.
no matter where you work, there's always that one random meeting that's
Yes.
later. But it's having the support from my company who tends to work those hours to be like, I've got to leave in the middle of the day, right when you're coming on because my son's got an event. Just throw it on your calendar. You're good. Do what you got to do.
Mhm.
I mean, that type of support is so amazing, and to be able to have that, to be like, I've got to
Yeah.
check out early today, like everything's done, but we're going to a baseball game or something like that. And it's like, fantastic, good for you. I mean, it's a totally different environment, and it should be, because
Yeah.
it makes me a happy employee, as long as the work's getting done. I think that's where so many great employers are really seeing the success, when they let that work
Mhm.
that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And culture really matters, doesn't it? Does it matter to you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, having the ability to talk to your coworkers as people, and having that freedom within the workspace, and being able to like just be excited for folks who are checking out a little bit earlier. Hey, I'm taking a break. I need, I was just talking to somebody about that the other day. It's the amount of folks who are able to say like, I just need some time. I need to take the day, or I need a week,
Mhm.
or whatever it is. And the support that comes from their team, who then picks up where they left off, or your
Yeah.
boss, to be able to say like, you got to do what you got to do, is amazing. I mean, it's like there's some silver lining to come out of all the craziness, and it's the support that people get to be able to say, I'm throwing my hands up today. It's been a
Yeah.
week. It's been a month. It's been a last 3 years. I'm taking a bit of time for myself.
Yeah.
You have the ability to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. But I think the companies who recognize that will be
Mhm.
the winners at the end.
Yeah.
And those will be the CEOs that will be remembered
Right.
in a
100%.
good way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. One last thing I just was going to throw out there. The one skill that you have that is undeniable and unrivaled is your use of communication using Is it Jiffy's? Jiffy's?
The little gifts, like yes.
Yes.
If I can speak only in those, I love it.
I swear, you could brighten up anybody's day. Just one thing, one Jiffy. I still can't pronounce it.
Uh-huh. I love them. I mean, sometimes I just think they say so much more than what I could if I was just talking. I mean, it's just like I always like the one where he's throwing the confetti because it's kind of like sarcasm. Are you excited? Are you being, those type of them? I love them. I try to use them as much as I can because honestly, I could have conversations in only.
Yes, you
I love
could,
them.
you do, and it's been amazing. It was like a new world opened up to me when
Yeah.
you joined Asia. It was like, oh, this is so refreshing. This is so fun,
And that's when I started at Leviathan. It was one of the, like, when I started, they did like an introduction and a bunch of people sent them. I was like, oh, okay, good. Like I can still use them. This is my happy place. Like
It's an
my
extra
love language.
dimension.
Yeah, it's my love language.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So why cyber? Is there something that pulls you into cyber, or is it just serendipity?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I think that when I had the opportunity to interview, with Agio, it was something where it was just like I never ever saw this as a fit for me. In my mind before, math is not my strong suit, but for whatever reason, I'm thinking like cybersecurity, there's got to be a lot of numbers, a lot of math. Like I can't do it. And I'm like, I can't do it. I'm not good at, that's not my world. So like, it was never even on my radar. And then when I had the opportunity, it was more of a culture fit versus, yes, you've got the program management skills, but there, obviously you've never done cyber, which I think was part of the made me feel good is like I'm interviewing, they've seen my resume, like they know I've never done this before. So it's not like I have to try to fake it, but I've done the program management. And I think the culture brought me in and made me comfortable with learning and talking to the people that I worked with and being able to say, can I have some of your time to figure out more about what this is? Or, hey, with my own teammates, like what's the process? And then it's just really helped me grow into, not just doing program management, but having the confidence to step into an analyst role, which gave me a lot more of an understanding too on kind of, at a high level, more about phishing and tabletops and things like that. So then when I had the opportunity to take more of a senior position at Leviathan, it was like, I feel like I'm even going to learn so much more. Like it really has been very, I don't know what the right term to describe it is, but I'm so glad I kind of fell into this world, or I guess, pulled in by with Amy kind of reaching out. So I've really enjoyed it. I love it. I want my kids to be involved with it early. I'm already kind of talking to the boys about coding and those type of opportunities. Cause I'm like, this is just so cool. And I wish I would have known about it sooner.
Yeah.
And there's just so much opportunity within cybersecurity. So
yeah. And you're right. Props to Lori and Chris for recognizing talent in spite of not having the experience, and being able to say, she's got the fundamentals.
Yeah.
We always said brilliance in the basics, but that's so true, right? And then you can learn what else there is to learn about the job. And I really, really admire that about Chris and Lori at Agio, because they found the best people. We had amazing people that we worked with. That's why it was so heartbreaking leaving. But after 6 years, I needed to learn something new.
Yeah, it was ready, and I think that speaks a lot to their leadership. I mean, it was kind of like bring you in, build you up, and then be happy for you when you move on to the next step. Even hate to lose you, but it's like we're excited for you, we're proud of you, and then still reach back and have that relationship. With so many people. I mean, I still talk to so many folks as I'm meeting all these my new team and everything I'm learning here. It's really fun, to still kind of be a part of the same group.
Yeah. One of my highlights and actually proud moments was when we started this study group for our Security Plus, and looking back, I know that you completed your Security Plus exam with with
Woohoo!
flying colors. So
Yeah.
I just took so much pride in that. And it was just amazing that, so many of us just said, why not? Let's give it a shot. Let's have some fun while we're doing it.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think having that group helps to be able to say, "Hey, I didn't
mhm.
understand this," or "Let's talk through it," or "Let's like," 'cause I think that's also something that is can deter people from doing a group is you don't want it to sound like you don't know what you're doing. But again, I think because so many people come into cyber from different backgrounds, it's kind of like a safe space, and we've all
Yeah.
got our own different areas that make more sense to us.
Yeah.
And having that group to just bounce ideas off of or be like, this just won't stay in my head. Someone explain it to me in whatever way it's sticking to you,
Yeah.
you know? But it has been so exciting. I mean, when you passed, you're like, I did it. And I'm jacked up because now I'm like, yes, okay, I'm next, And then when I pass, you go. And I know we've had a couple other people who have started the studying or passed or kind of been like,
Yes.
I fell off the wagon, I'm getting back on, and that type of a thing. It's exciting to kind of have those cheerleaders.
Yes. It's so important to have those cheerleaders. So, um, what's next?
Yes, I know I need to get my book. So I'm glad you called that out. I know, and I think I saw the I think I on LinkedIn, I saw that you were doing the kind of the free opportunity, and it was like, why not? Why not try
Yes.
it? Even if you don't get it, you're still learning so much in the process. I mean,
Yes.
it's just like again, it helps to have a group who's doing it, and be
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
hold each other accountable.
Yes. Well, I have no ambition to pass the CISSP exam this year. I give myself the freedom to not do that.
Which is good. I mean, it's like I
Yeah.
can't, if you can't, if it's something that happens and you can pick up the momentum and you feel like you're going for it, then go for it, But it's not like this is something that's being held to say, if you don't get this, you're in
Yeah.
trouble.
Yeah.
Which is nice because it's us kind of taking that education for ourselves, and being
Mhm.
able to pass it on. And we just with Leviathan, my boss Kelly is fantastic and has kind of set up these study groups just for us all to kind of go through and learn within our whole PMO.
That's
And it's
awesome.
exciting. Like we're gonna do this as a group, but then here's an opportunity to do all these other learning opportunities. And very, thankful for that support to be able to jump in and be like, I'm taking time. If I've got time during my day, I'm blocking it to do some learning. I don't have to do it only on the PTO in the evenings because who has evenings? Not me.
Yeah,
Not
that's
me.
the
Not me.
thing. That's the thing. This is on evenings though. This
Yeah.
CISSP mentoring program with FR Secure. But
Yeah.
it's just a few weeks. It's not
Yeah.
too long of a commitment.
Right.
So hopefully we can make it
I
work.
know. Yeah. And I know they're recorded, right? So I think that's what I'm excited for is to maybe
Too.
do it in the
Yes.
morning. If I can't catch it in the evening, then I'm going to kind of leave it for myself in the morning and kind of block some time. Because
Yeah.
I think that's an option, a great option that they have is where, we understand that not everybody's gonna be able to tune in every night. So,
Yeah.
or the evening. So we're going to make it available outside
Yeah.
of
Yeah. I think it's just amazing that these
that.
opportunities exist. You just have to kind of look for them, I
Yeah.
guess, on LinkedIn. But also, the local ISSA chapter here in Raleigh has in-person CISSP classes
Oh, wow.
also around the same time this spring. So on a Saturday morning, I'll be
Oh,
doing that on
awesome.
top. But I want to, I need that study buddy, that
Yeah.
person who's keeping me accountable. So I feel like, you know,
Yeah.
there's somebody who's looking at me.
Yes. Or hey, did you read that chapter? Oh, I didn't get
Yes.
to it. Now I feel like I need to go, I need to get back on it to just set that time aside. So
Yeah. It
calling
really
anybody else
helps
who wants
me.
to join us.
Yeah, totally. So I don't know if you have a local ISSA chapter or anybody like that, but
Yeah. I'll have
I
to
don't
look
know.
into it.
Yeah. You have a CPTC. I don't know what that is. What is that?
Certified tech. Oh, geez Louise. Now I need to look it up. Because I was able to do it during our Agio sprint a couple years ago.
Certified
Certified
professional.
practitioner.
Professional technical communicator
That's it.
practitioner.
That's it. And really it talks about kind of technical writing. So it's like, how can we get our point
Mm.
across in a more technical way or a more why are we using words that we don't necessarily need to communicate our point across? It was something that I had the opportunity to kind of try. And there were a couple of us on the team that did it together as well, which was nice because it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. It was one of those that I was like, oh, this will be okay. I'll get this, sir. And then it was like, I took a couple of practice tests and I'm like, that I failed miserably, I'm like, oh my gosh. So, but it was a really good one. And I use some of when I read back through my own emails or my own communications with clients, I'm like, I don't need that, or this isn't as important. And it just kind of talked about that with your writing and the versus, communicating out loud when you're writing something. How do we make it more succinct? How do we make it more clear? What's the best medium to use? Things like that.
Wow, that sounds awesome, because so often things are lost in translation. People don't understand the technical jargon, right? So being able to put it in layman's terms is so important.
Oh yeah. And I can't give enough kudos ever to any of the technical writers or editors that I've ever had on my team, like Lori Rabin, she's a mastermind. And the women I'm fortunate enough to work with here, Caitlin and Barbara, like I'm in awe of them. And I'm like, here I am just trying to get through an email and they're reading these documents and just presenting us so much better, to the public and the clients. And I'm like, this is just a small sliver of their world, but I'm like, man, they're amazing.
Yeah. Well, it's an important skill for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So although you were an athlete before, I think you're still an athlete. You're just not admitting it quite much.
I try to still be an athlete. It just looks a lot different. It looks a lot different.
Well, I'm sure that you're doing sports with your kids, right? Like you're the hands-on mom. Like
Oh yeah. And I've had to kind of switch up my sports. Brady, my oldest, both of them really, Brady and Dane, like basketball, but baseball I've never done, baseball or softball. I always joke that my athletic ability shrinks drastically with the size of the ball. So basketball and volleyball, like I'm your girl, but like baseball, I'm like, okay, I've got to figure this out, so getting into those type of sports with them and just kind of, getting out and about, even just bike riding. And I kind of like to do the camping, which is different, so like, I think that's fun to do with them, kind of get out and get dirty. We built like a mud pit in our backyard so they can just go play in the mud. Because it was like, we're going to tear up the yard anyway. Let me at least make it in this cute stone lined area.
You're like mom of the year. We made a mud pit for our kids in the backyard.
We dug it out and everything. It was a big family event.
Wow, girl. Kudos. But are you doing that Spartan race?
I just signed up for it. So I'm doing it with my brother-in-law. It's in April. And it's out there now. I've signed up for it. I paid for the ticket. And now it's kind of like, okay, I've been kind of, starting to train for it. And then once you buy that ticket, you're like, okay, it's happening, So I'm excited. It's a 5K, he's done at least one before. So he'll have to give me some insight, but the obstacles, that's what'll be different. It's like, in my mind, I'm like, I can do this, but can I carry a ball and climb a rope and do all that's different than just, playing basketball. So it'll be interesting. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. It's kind of a new challenge. I ran a marathon 2 years ago, and it was kind of one of those things that's like, I just want to do it and say I did it and check my box, and my goal was don't be so exhausted that you can't talk afterwards, and I'm like, as long as I can drink a beer at the end, then I have reached my goal. So I kind of have the same baseline for this.
I absolutely love your mindset. It's just mind-blowing to me, is that I'll just do a marathon. I'll just go run a Spartan race.
Well, it took a long time. My friend had to make my plan for me. I mean, she's a big runner, so I was able to kind of like pull her in and be like, okay, help. Here's my goal. I know it's not a lofty goal, but it's finishing.
That's amazing. Well, good for you. It's just so awesome. Plus, you're like, you're still making your health, your well-being a priority. So I think that's such a great example to set for your boys too.
Yeah, just kind of taking that time to be like, this is what I've got to do. I mean, I don't know about you. There's some of those days where I'm like, have I been grinding my teeth at my desk? Like just sitting there and you're just so ingrained. You're like, I'm hunched over and I'm like, I'm going to go for a run. Like I'm going to go put on a podcast and I'm going to go for a run, or I'm going to go do a bike ride or something like that. I'm like, I've got to have something, and I need that goal, for me. Like I need to have that goal that I'm kind of working towards just to kind of help me. Because otherwise I'll be like, I don't want to work out. I don't want to go do this. I don't want to do that. But that kind of helps me know that I need to get going.
Yeah. Who are your cheerleaders?
I am fortunate enough to say that I have so many. I really just feel like I've got, all of my coworkers, current and past. I mean, I love that we still talk and, it's so much fun. My husband's fantastic. And he's just like, yeah, okay, I'll watch the kids. You go train for a marathon. I mean, he signed up as much as I did because I'm going to go huff and puff for 4 hours to practice, He's got the kids because then I come home and I'm just laying on the couch because now I'm a slug. So, to have somebody who kind of supports you doing that, my sisters, my parents, even just past coworkers, current coworkers. I honestly feel like I've got so many, and I'm very fortunate for that. And they all share my same sarcastic sense of humor. So when I don't go do something or I am slacking, they're real quick to light the fire. Send me a sarcastic gift to go move.
That's awesome. But it matters so
Yeah.
much, right? To have those cheerleaders, behind you, pushing you on. It's so
Definitely.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does purpose matter to you?
To me, that's like, I mean, of any project, of any goal, I mean, I want there to be a reason or a purpose behind everything that I'm doing, even if it's just like the purpose is my sanity check, or just I need something else that's just mine, or I need for this project, like that we all, in work, there's a purpose behind every assessment or anything that we're working on. And that makes sense. And that's what helps drive it. And I think it's important to find that in our personal life too. Like what's the purpose of wanting to train for something, or what's the purpose of planning an activity with my kids? I want to get them outside. I want to set them up for success. So we're going to go camping where they can get dirty and they're supposed to, versus being somewhere that they have to be neat and tidy. I mean, I think it's just purpose to me just helps kind of drive what we're doing. And I definitely don't take it too seriously. I think I use it kind of as a guide, because I'm also a big fan of like, we were going to go camping, but it's raining, and it's like, well, then we're going to go run around in the mud, and then maybe we go home and we don't stay, or something like that. Like, let's still try to find the fun in it. I try to be a glass half full type of person.
Yes.
And I would much rather do that and try to find some sort of a fun option or a positive out of it, than not, because there's enough crazy and bad in the world. So I think my purpose is just to try to, we might not get the same end goal that we're looking for, but we're going to make sure that there's positives along the way, in some way, shape, or form.
I love that. That's amazing. Knowing you being so ambitious and driven and not taking no for an answer. Any other big dreams, long-term goals that are kind of simmering in the back of your mind?
I don't know. I feel like so many things that I've done have kind of popped up out of nowhere.
Mhm.
I think it's kind of like like cybersecurity was never in my plan. And all of a sudden it popped up, and now I can't imagine being in another field. But I think it's just important not to close yourself in. And if an opportunity presents itself, I think, and my husband and I always say this, like if somebody presents an opportunity, even if we're not looking, it's important to look at it. I mean, just to kind of say, well, what could this do for us? Or what could this do for our family? Or what could the case, what could it be? So I don't know. I mean, I've always told myself I'd run another marathon, and now I can't get myself going. I get out there and I'm like, nah, I'm not running that far anymore.
So you're doing a Spartan race instead.
Yeah, so that's it. I kind of switched gears. I'm like, okay, I've checked that box. I'm gonna go try this one and see what happens and go do it. So I don't know. I think I try to keep a lot of that open. I'd love to just kind of see where this career takes me. I mean, Leviathan's an exciting new company, not a new company. It's been around, but it's a new company for me, and there's a lot of growth, and it's exciting to see what could potentially develop here, but I really like what I do. I mean, just the program, I like to be able to work with a lot of different clients, work on a lot of different assessments, internal, external projects. Professionally, I'm open. I think I just am excited to see where things can go, knowing that I love where I'm at right now. I think I'm fortunate to say, because, that's not always the case for a lot of folks.
And I love that you have that open-mindedness, and that you're like, life just come to me, and not limiting the view of your future by one thing or another. I think that's amazing. I think that's critical. Is there anything that scares you?
Probably that's exact same thought, is that I don't necessarily have a ton of I mean, I don't know. I think it's an exciting, I don't think it's a scare. It's just kind of just you never know what could happen. And I think the last couple of years have shown us that. When I originally started with Agio, and when the pandemic hit, and I had to take a step back, and just because of everything that happened, and it was that was scary, because that's the first time I ever you get kind of a check, and it's well, now what do I do? And luckily for, Lori, I just kept bugging her and driving her crazy, because I was like, you're not going to forget about me, and was able to come back. But it's, it's just I think that's what scares me, is to lose what I have right now. I love my company, you love the people you work with. And then when you have kind of the, the bottom kind of fall out for everybody, you just wonder, am I going to get back to what I had before? And I was fortunate enough to come back and then some, so that's exciting. But I think anytime you really, really enjoy doing something, just the thought of it changing in a negative way is scary. As much as I love my babies, I am not built to be a stay-at-home mom. So that was scary, because I was all of a sudden a stay-at-home mom, and I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? I give kudos to so many women who do it, because it's just not in me, but
it's not easy.
No, not at all. No. And I'm like, I just am not built for it. But I had to be, part of that kind of adapt. And I checked that box for a little bit. So we'll close that stay-at-home business for myself. That's the only thing I think that's scary. When you do feel like you've got a really good thing, you don't want to lose it. And I've been fortunate everywhere that I've worked to really, really enjoy it. So
well, it was amazing that they had the opportunity to rehire you, because that was probably the smartest thing they ever did. So thank goodness, because you were my partner in crime in so much.
And that's what's been so fun, is I feel like everywhere, you just have such different relationships with everybody too. And you're like, when you get to go from project to project with the same people, you really start to get a feel for how everybody works, and kind of the ebb and flow. And then, it's just kind of like, oh my gosh, I forgot to do that. Oh, don't worry, I picked it up for you. You know what I mean? You just kind of build that rapport with everybody, and it doesn't just go away because you leave a company. I mean, you still have that relationship with people. And I think that's been special to keep.
Absolutely. So what do you wish for your boys?
I want them to get involved into whatever they want to do. I think so many times you see parents, or just people in general, kind of pigeonhole them, into things. And I'm just really excited I like that they like sports, because that's fun for me, and that's kind of my wheelhouse. But now having had an opportunity to get into some other areas, let them do whatever they want to do, and kind of see where it takes them. I can't believe Brady's already 8. I mean, that's wild to me that he's already, he's not old, but my baby's 8, and I mean, as you know, he loves music, and he's working with your son. I mean, I think that's so cool, because I'm like, I have no idea how to even hold a guitar, and he just has such a passion for it. Now he's actually trying to get taught, which is a different story. But I just like to see their different personalities, and I want to support whatever they get into, even if I have no clue what it is.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And last one, what are you grateful for?
I am grateful for just, I think, the acceptance from everybody that I've worked with. When you put yourself out there and you ask some of the questions of like that, I don't not, you join a new company and you're not necessarily
Mhm.
sure, but the people that kind of just pull you in are like, yeah, let me show you. Or if I feel like I'm asking the dumb question, which I will always say I'm the first, I'm going to ask it. Like I'm going to ask you so many dumb questions that it's explained correctly. The amount of people have been like, yeah, let's set up some time and let's talk about it. Or, do you want to do a brain break? Let's just sit and have coffee and talk. And I'm very grateful for the amount of people who have taken that time, I think, to just get to know me especially in the remote world, just it's
Mhm.
so much harder to do. I
Yeah.
have, my coworker, Mark Stribling, we have a monthly sink and snack that we just kind of sit there for 30 minutes and we talk about family and we talk about some crazy client or, you talk about all while eating whatever it is you could probably grab from this kitchen, and you get to kind of see people's families that come and go in the background. And I'm thankful for those type of relationships.
Yeah.
Either still in the workplace or just outside of it, where we're still able to connect, especially in the remote world. So,
Yeah. The human connection is
yeah,
still what binds us, what
yeah,
makes us, I
yeah,
think, fulfilled, gives us that sense of belonging that we all
mhm,
need.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep, yep. Being able to laugh
Awesome.
and not just ha 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 on the computer, being able to like laugh in person. And I think that's why I like the gift so much, is I feel
Yes.
like it's like giving you a little bit more of an insight into my personality besides
Yes.
just like chat.
Yes. It's so true. So usually we have Antonio on this call, and then we give you the opportunity to ask one of us a question. Now you're stuck at having to ask me a question,
Yeah.
and I'm terrified.
No, I think the question I would love to know is, what do you think has been kind of the most common trend from the people has there been a trend with everyone's journey into cybersecurity and the folks you've kind of talked to so far?
There are a lot of trends, actually, a lot of commonalities
Hmm.
that brings people into cybersecurity. It is the sense of purpose of really
Hmm.
making a difference. It is also just that innate need to help others, to serve,
Hmm.
and sometimes even to teach. Like
Yeah.
you see this selflessness in so many of them that I come to really admire. You see that human side to it. It's never about the money, the glory, the
Hmm.
fame, the
Yeah.
fortune. It's about the community and coming together and solving a bigger problem that we're facing, and then a bigger challenge.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the most common one, is that people are driven more by their heart than anything else in
Hmm.
cybersecurity.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, and I think you see so many people who are not born and raised in cybersecurity. So it's like the
No.
way that they've kind of found their way into it also drives some of that. Like, this is new and I can see the impact I can make here in
Yeah.
some way, shape, or form. And I
Yeah.
think too, that ties back into the folks who were always in cybersecurity. It's like, oh, there's some new insight, or there's some new, it's such a fun industry. It's so
Yeah.
exciting,
Yeah.
so many
And that is
problems
so
to
true
solve.
what you yeah, but it's so true what you just said, because it's these fresh perspectives, these
Mhm.
different ways of looking at things that can help you solve a bigger problem.
Yeah.
Like you can't have that group think
Right.
going on.
Yeah.
You have to be able to kind of complement each other, thanks to those diverse backgrounds,
Right.
to look at the bigger picture. Like, what is going on here?
Right. And to have
Some,
companies who support that outside opinion. I mean, that was one of the first things when I
yeah,
when I came, Aju and Leviathan especially, was like, we've been working on this, but we're almost done with it. So you look at it, you go and look at it, or give us your opinion, and
yeah,
we're open to it. Tell us. There's so many places that are like, this is what we do. Welcome, or here you go, this is it. But when you have companies who embrace you coming in and saying, please let us know your thoughts. Please let us know,
yeah,
show us what you're bringing to the table, or what do you think about this? It's awesome.
yeah. 100%. Well, Sarah, I couldn't be happier with this conversation that you and I
It was
had,
so
because
fun.
you're just so amazing. And I really, really wanted you to be on this podcast, because I hope young girls look at you and they see your fearlessness, that positive energy, that just resilience in you, that just doesn't take no for an answer, that says the why not, the mindset that you can do anything that you want to do, that you set your mind to, and the ambition to work hard and have, a strong work ethic, a strong work product, while at the same time having a sense of humor, having fun at it. And
I have a
and
sense of humor.
yeah, right? Just still having fun about
Yeah.
with people at the same time. You were my cheerleader. I look up to you so much, because of how you just don't let any boundaries come in your way. Like if something is thrown at you, you just jump right over it. You're Miss Sparta.
No, but that's, I think it goes both ways, where it's like when there is something thrown at you and you've got the opportunity to kind of talk to, a coworker or a cheerleader, to be like, this is driving me crazy, and you can like take that hat, like that work hat off, and kind of like have that person that you can talk to and vent to, and then be like,
Yeah.
okay, all right, whoo, let's go, put it back on, and then we're going forward. I think it's so important to have that, compartmentalize some of that, so
Yeah.
that way you can switch. I
Yeah.
think it's important, and
Yeah. Well, you're like, to me, the modern day working mom who doesn't have to compromise on anything. You're just the living proof that women can do anything they put their minds to.
yeah, we're a
And
powerful crew, I'm telling you. And it's like, especially when you've got those cheerleaders to help kind of push you along, it matters. It matters, which is
yeah,
why you want to be that person for other people too, because to know that you didn't, I didn't get to where I am today if I didn't have the support of so many people. So it's like I want to be able to reach out and help anyone else. Like, let's do the study group. I want to help get somebody else their security. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah,
important to have that.
yeah, 100%. That's the mic drop moment right here. Well, thank you so much. I am blessed to know you, and now so many more people know you too. So they
Yeah,
are
this is
equally
fun.
blessed.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much
much.
for having me, Kathy.
Oh, my pleasure.
Love it.